Daniel walked slowly through the quiet streets of the city, his mind heavy with thoughts from the day. He had spent hours at the research conference, listening to discussions about the possibilities of alien life and the future of human exploration. While others were excited, Daniel felt a strange mixture of curiosity and unease. Something about the whole topic had always felt personal to him, though he couldn't quite explain why. He paused under a street lamp, the soft glow illuminating the quiet path. The night was calm, and a cool breeze brushed against his face, carrying with it the faint scent of distant rain. As he walked, he remembered his younger years, the days when life seemed simpler and yet full of strange possibilities. There were nights he spent studying, working on experiments that no one outside his small team could understand. Those experiments had seemed harmless at the time, just science, just curiosity. But now, years later, he wondered if there had been more to them than he had realized. He shook his head, trying to clear the thoughts. The city felt different at night, more alive, yet quieter in a way that made him more aware of his own heartbeat. It was then that he saw her. At first, he thought she was someone from the conference, perhaps another scientist who had stepped out for air, but there was something about her that stopped him in his tracks. She stood a few feet away under the shadow of an old oak tree that grew beside the pavement. Her presence seemed to ripple through the night, like a vibration in the air that he could feel in his chest. She was tall, graceful, and her hair flowed in a way that seemed to move on its own. Her eyes, glowing faintly in the dim light, held an intensity that made Daniel's mind freeze for a moment. As he approached, she smiled softly, almost shyly, and then she spoke, her voice calm, clear, and yet full of a strange familiarity that sent shivers down his spine. "Do you remember me, human? I was the girl you shared a bed with years ago." Daniel stopped completely. The words echoed in his mind, each one heavier than the last. He searched her face, trying to place her, trying to find some clue that would anchor her in his memories. But nothing came immediately. He blinked, stepped closer, and then stepped back, as if moving physically closer could help him see the truth. I don't understand," he said, his voice shaky. I think you have me confused with someone else." She shook her head gently, her long hair brushing against her shoulders. "No, human," she said softly, yet there was an authority in her tone. "I know what you remember and what you cannot. You shared a bed with me, though not in the way you might think. It was different. It was part of something you participated in, something you barely understood." At the time, Daniel felt a wave of panic mixed with curiosity. He wanted to step back to run, but his feet felt rooted to the ground. His mind was racing, trying to recall anything from the years he had spent in secret experiments. He remembered strange devices, nights of exhaustion, and moments of unusual clarity. He remembered dreams that felt too real, feelings that were not entirely his own. And now, seeing this woman, hearing her words, the memories began to rise like fragments of a forgotten dream. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "Shared a bed? I don't remember that. I don't understand who you are." She smiled faintly, almost sadly. "You will understand, human. I am called Liara. You have seen me before, even if you do not remember. What you experienced with me years ago was not just a dream, nor was it simple imagination. We were connected, in ways that your mind could not fully grasp at the time. You were young, curious, unaware of the depth of what you were part of." Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. Everything about her was strange and mesmerizing. Her presence was not threatening, yet it made him feel exposed, as if she could see inside him, through every memory, every thought. He took another step, back, then another forward, unsure what to do. He wanted to run, yet a part of him longed to stay, to understand, to hear more. What happened?" he asked finally, his voice low. "Why are you here now?" Liara tilted her head slightly, as if considering him carefully. "Because I came back, human," I have returned to see you, to speak with you, to guide you toward understanding. The connection we shared, it was not meant to end. It has persisted across time, across space. And now, you are ready to see it for yourself. Daniel swallowed, hard, his mind struggling to balance reason and disbelief. He was a scientist, trained to question everything, to look for evidence, to measure and observe, and yet nothing he had ever studied could explain her presence, her words, or the strange energy he felt radiating from her. He felt a pull toward her, a magnetic force that he could neither resist nor fully understand. She stepped closer, her eyes locked onto his. Do not be afraid, human. I am here and I will help you remember. I will help you understand what you once shared and what you are capable of experiencing. The world you know is only part of the truth. There is more, far more, than you have ever imagined. Daniel nodded slowly, though his mind was still in chaos. He wanted to speak, to ask 100 questions at once, but the words would not come. Instead, he felt an overwhelming mixture of fear, wonder, and a strange longing. He realized that this was a turning point, a moment that would change everything he thought he knew about himself, about the world, and about what lay beyond. The night deepened around them. Daniel and Liara stood together in the quiet street. The world seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for what would come next. And Daniel, despite his confusion and fear, felt a spark of recognition, a memory, just out of reach, waiting to be unlocked. He did not yet understand the full truth, but he knew that his life was about to be transformed in ways he could not yet imagine. And as he looked into her eyes, he felt the first stirrings of a connection that transcended time, memory, and even species. A connection that would guide him into a world he had never thought possible. Daniel and Liara walked slowly along the quiet streets, their footsteps soft against the pavement. The city around them seemed almost unreal at night, empty of traffic and noise, giving the sense that they were in a world slightly apart from the one he knew. Daniel's mind was still spinning with questions. How could this be real? Was she human? Was she a figment of his imagination? Everything in him screamed that this was impossible, and yet nothing in his experience could explain the certainty he felt when he looked at her. Liara noticed the hesitation in his steps and the tension in his shoulders. She reached out and lightly touched his arm, a gesture gentle and grounding. Daniel, she said softly, you are trying to make sense of what you see. That is human, and it is natural. But the truth is larger than your understanding right now. You were part of an experiment long ago. You shared something extraordinary with me, though you cannot remember it clearly. I am here to help you see it again. Daniel's heart raced. He had vague memories of that experiment, though they felt distant, like dreams he could almost grasp but not quite hold. He remembered a laboratory, strange machines, and lights that glowed softly in the dark. He remembered lying in a bed, not alone, yet he couldn't remember who was there. It had felt important at the time, but he had always assumed it was just part of the research, just another task in his young career. He shook his head, trying to force the pieces together. What do you mean? Shared something extraordinary, he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't understand. You said we shared a bed, but I don't remember anything beyond the machines and the experiment. Liara smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting a light that was not from this world. It was not as you remember it, Daniel. What you experienced was a connection between our minds, a sharing of thoughts and feelings. You were young, curious, and unaware that the machine did more than observe. It allowed me to enter your consciousness, to see what you felt, to understand your dreams and fears. You felt it as if it were your own experience, but it was also mine. That is what I meant when I said we shared a bed. It was a place of connection, a place where our minds met. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. The words sounded like science fiction, yet her calm certainty made him question his own logic. He wanted to argue, to say it was impossible, yet a part of him remembered fleeting images, visions of another presence beside him, a warmth that was not his own, and a sense of being understood in ways he could not explain. You mean, it wasn't a dream? He asked cautiously. Liara shook her head. No, it was not a dream. It was real, though your human mind could not fully comprehend it at the time. I am from a world far beyond your own, a place where consciousness can travel, where emotions and thoughts can be shared across distances and even across species. I came to study humanity, to understand your minds, your hearts, and your choices. And in you, Daniel, I found something remarkable, a depth of feeling, a curiosity, a capacity for connection that I have rarely seen. Daniel stopped walking, for a moment trying to process everything she was saying. His life had been ordinary in many ways, research, study, work, small friendships, but this was something beyond all of that. And, you've come back to study me? He asked, unsure if he wanted the answer. Liara nodded. Not just to study you, Daniel, to reconnect with you, to help you remember what you have forgotten, and to guide you toward understanding what is possible. The bond we shared years ago has not faded. It has persisted, waiting for this moment. Daniel's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Fear, curiosity, disbelief, and something else he could not name. He wanted to ask more questions, to understand how this could be real, but words seemed inadequate. Instead, he walked beside her, letting her presence anchor him while he tried to catch up with his own thoughts. Show me, he said finally. Show me what you mean. I need to understand this even if it sounds impossible. Liara nodded and extended her hand. Daniel hesitated for only a moment before taking it. The instant their fingers touched, a wave of warmth and energy flowed through him. It was unlike anything he had felt before, neither electricity nor heat, but a vibration deep in his chest, as if his heart and mind were being touched at the same time. His surroundings blurred slightly, and suddenly, he was not just in the street but somewhere else entirely. He saw flashes of memories he had long forgotten, his younger self in the laboratory, the machines, the lights, and then her presence beside him. He could feel her thoughts, her emotions, and even her excitement as she observed him. It was not invasive or frightening. It was simply a connection, a bridge between two minds. I remember, he whispered, awe and disbelief mixing in his voice. I remember now, and some of it, you were there. Liara smiled, the glow in her eyes deepening. Yes, Daniel, I was there. And now, you can see it as it truly was. We shared a moment that went beyond human understanding. You may not have realized it at the time, but it shaped your curiosity, your empathy, and your choices. You have always carried a part of it within you, even when you forgot. Daniel felt a sense of wonder and humility. His life, his studies, his memories, they all had a new meaning now. Something extraordinary had happened, something he had been unaware of, and now it was unfolding before him. He wanted to ask more, to understand everything, but Liara's presence was calm, guiding, letting him take it in at his own pace. Why me? He asked finally, his voice low. Why did you choose to connect with me? Liara's expression softened. Because you are capable of understanding, Daniel. Because you have a heart that seeks truth, even when it is difficult or strange. Because the bond we shared was meaningful, and it was meant to endure. Not all humans would have felt what you felt, or remembered it, or even cared. But you did. And that is why I am here now. Daniel nodded slowly, feeling a mixture of awe and nervous anticipation. He understood that his life had changed forever, that the world he thought he knew was only part of the truth, and that the connection he had shared with Liara was something rare and extraordinary. He took a deep breath, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in his life, he felt ready to explore it. And as they continued to walk through the quiet night, Daniel realized that the moment he had been waiting for, even if he did not know it, had finally arrived. The past and present were merging, and a new journey, unlike anything he had ever imagined, was beginning. As Daniel walked beside Liara, he felt a strange mixture of fear, wonder, and curiosity. The city seemed quiet and ordinary on the surface, but now it felt like a place filled with hidden layers, waiting to reveal themselves. He kept glancing at her, trying to understand her presence, her calm confidence, and the gentle glow in her eyes. It was unlike anything he had ever seen in a human being. She seemed almost alive in a way that went beyond normal life, as if she carried another world within her. Liara sensed his thoughts and smiled softly. "Daniel," she said, her voice carrying a warmth that made him pause. "I can show you more than memories. I can show you my world, the place I come from, the truth behind why we connected. But first you must be willing to see things that may challenge everything you think you know." He nodded slowly, his curiosity stronger than his fear. He wanted to understand, to explore, to make sense of this incredible reality. "I'm ready," he said quietly. "Show me." Liara reached out her hand again, and this time, when their fingers touched, Daniel felt a wave of energy unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was gentle yet overwhelming, filling him with a sense of weightlessness. His surroundings blurred, and he felt himself being lifted, carried somewhere else. Colors, shapes, and sensations surrounded him, strange and beautiful, as if he were moving through a dream that was more real than reality itself. When his vision cleared, he found himself standing in a place that was beyond anything he had imagined. The landscape was vast, filled with luminous plants that glowed softly in colors he did not recognize. Strange creatures moved gracefully in the distance, their forms elegant and fluid, as if they were made of light itself. The sky above shimmered with hues of blue, green, and gold shifting like water. He could feel a gentle vibration in the air, a rhythm that resonated with his own heartbeat. This is your world?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Liara nodded. "Yes, Daniel. This is where I come from. This is where consciousness is shared freely, where emotions and thoughts are visible and understood by everyone. It is a world of connection, of understanding, and of exploration beyond the limits of the human mind." He took a tentative step forward, his senses overwhelmed by the beauty and strangeness of it all. Every detail seemed alive, every sound a melody, every movement a form of expression. He could sense the emotions of the beings around him, a gentle harmony of curiosity, kindness, and joy. It was overwhelming, but in a way that felt natural, as if he was awakening to a truth he had always known but never remembered. Liara walked beside him, her presence calm and reassuring. "I wanted you to see this because it is part of who I am, and part of what we shared," she explained. "When we were connected, you experienced glimpses of this world without realizing it. Your mind could not hold it fully at the time, but now you are ready to understand." Daniel closed his eyes and let himself feel. Memories of their shared experiments came back in fragments. Visions of her presence beside him, of thoughts exchanged silently, of emotions he had thought were his own but now realized were shared. He could feel her joy, her curiosity, and her gentle patience. The bond they had formed was not ordinary. It was a connection that transcended species and space. It's incredible," he said, opening his eyes again. "I never imagined anything like this. All those years I thought it was just part of the experiment, just my imagination. But now, I can feel it. I can feel you. I can feel what we shared." Liara smiled, a soft, radiant expression that seemed to light up the landscape around them. "Yes, Daniel. You are beginning to understand. Our connection is not limited to memory or time. It exists as part of your consciousness, and now you can experience it fully. You can see the world as I see it, feel what I feel, and understand what it means to share consciousness." Daniel took another step, and as he did, he felt a sudden shift. He could sense the thoughts and emotions of the beings around him more clearly. They were not just creatures. They were individuals with feelings, intentions, and awareness. He could sense their curiosity about him, their gentle interest, and even their trust in Liara. It was as if the entire world was alive with consciousness, and he was part of it. "This is overwhelming," he admitted, "but in a good way. I feel connected, not just to you, but to everything here. It's like I can understand things I never thought I could." Liara reached out and touched his hand again. "That is the purpose of this experience, Daniel. To show you that connection, understanding, and empathy are not limited to humans. They are universal. You have the ability to feel deeply, to understand, and to share. That is why I return to you. You have grown, you have learned, and now you are ready to experience this connection consciously." Daniel nodded, feeling a mixture of awe and gratitude. He realized that the bond he shared with Liara had shaped his life more than he had ever known. His curiosity, his empathy, and his desire to explore the unknown were all part of the influence of that connection. And now, seeing her world, experiencing it with her, he understood how extraordinary it had been. "Why me?" he asked, again needing to hear it aloud. Liara looked at him with a steady gaze. "Because you are capable of understanding and growth, Daniel. Because your heart and mind are open to truth, even when it challenges everything you know. Not everyone could have experienced what we shared, and not everyone could return to it. But you did. That is why I am here." Daniel felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of pride and humility. He realized that the journey he was on was not just about discovery. It was about understanding himself, his potential, and the depth of connection that life could offer. He could feel the bond with Liara more strongly than ever, a thread of consciousness that connected them across time, space, and even species. They continued walking through the luminous landscape, and Daniel allowed himself to absorb every detail. He asked questions, and Liara patiently answered, explaining the principles of her world, the nature of consciousness, and the importance of emotional resonance. Every answer opened new doors in his mind, new ways of thinking, and new ways of feeling. By the time they paused beside a gently glowing river, Daniel felt a profound sense of clarity. He understood that his life on Earth, his experiments, and his memories had all led to this moment. He had been chosen not by chance, but because of his capacity to connect, understand, and grow. And now, with Liara by his side, he could explore the full extent of that potential. He looked at her, his heart full of gratitude and wonder. "Thank you," he said softly, "for coming back, for showing me this. I want to understand more, to see everything, to be part of it." Liara smiled, a gentle glow radiating from her eyes. "And you will, Daniel. We will explore together. You will see more than you ever imagined, and you will understand that connection, empathy, and understanding are the greatest powers of all. Our journey is only beginning." And as they stood together by the shimmering river, Daniel realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a human scientist. He was a participant in something far greater, a shared journey that transcended time, space, and memory. And with Liara by his side, he knew that the world and beyond held possibilities beyond his wildest dreams. Daniel's journey with Liara had been extraordinary, but the sense of wonder was soon mixed with tension. As they explored her luminous world, he noticed subtle shifts in the air, tiny ripples in the colors of the landscape. Liara's expression changed, becoming more serious. "Daniel," she said, her voice gentle but firm, "there are others who watch us. Not all of my people approve of our connection, and some are suspicious of why I am spending time with a human. They may see you as a threat or an anomaly." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "Watch us? What do you mean? Are you saying we're being followed?" Liara nodded. "In a sense, yes. There are those who monitor interactions across dimensions, across worlds. They are cautious because they fear change, fear unpredictability. You, Daniel, are unpredictable. You think, you feel, and you act in ways they cannot control. That is why your presence is both fascinating and dangerous." Daniel tried to absorb the words, He had always imagined danger in terms of his human experience, physical threats, accidents, or scientific experiments gone wrong. But this was different. This was a level of danger that he had never considered. He realized that his decisions now could have consequences far beyond anything he had known. "Are they coming here?" he asked, anxiety creeping into his voice. Liara shook her head. "Not yet, but we must be careful. I can protect you, but our time here must be conscious and cautious. You must understand the rules of this world and the power of connection you now possess. You are no longer just an observer, Daniel. You are part of this reality, and that makes you visible." Daniel nodded slowly, determination rising alongside fear. "Then we'll face it together," he said. "I don't fully understand this world yet, but I trust you. If danger comes, we will handle it." Liara smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and pride in her expression. "That is why I chose to reconnect with you, Daniel. Because you are capable of courage, empathy, and reason, even in situations that defy human logic. But courage alone is not enough. We must also act wisely." As they continued walking, Liara guided him toward a place of learning, a central hub in her world where knowledge and experience were shared openly. There, they discovered subtle devices and networks that allowed her people to observe interactions, not only in their own world but across human worlds as well. Daniel realized that his own life on Earth had been partially monitored, though always discreetly, to study human emotional and intellectual growth. "It seems invasive," Daniel said quietly, feeling a mix of awe and discomfort. "All this time humans were part of some kind of study?" Liara nodded. "Yes, but it was not intended to harm. Our purpose is observation, understanding, and sometimes guidance. You, Daniel, were chosen not because you were special in a conventional way, but because you were capable of forming connections, understanding emotions, and learning from experiences. That is rare among humans. And it is why you were allowed to remember and feel beyond what most can perceive." Daniel took a deep breath, the weight of responsibility pressing on him. "So, being here, it isn't just about learning or seeing your world. It's about choices, about how I act, what I do, and how it affects everything." Liara reached out and touched his hand. "Exactly. That is why I am here. To guide you, to help you understand, and to ensure that your choices are informed, not reckless. You are a bridge between worlds, Daniel, and bridges must be strong, steady, and wise." Just as he began to feel the weight of understanding, a subtle vibration in the air shifted, almost like a warning. Liara's eyes narrowed. "They are here," she said softly. "Observers who are not friendly. They question our connection and may attempt to interfere. We must move carefully." Daniel's heart raced, but he forced himself to remain calm. He realized that fear was natural, but panic would cloud judgment. "What do we do?" he asked, looking to Liara for guidance. She smiled faintly. "We act together. Your understanding, courage, and empathy will help navigate this situation, and we will use the connection you now fully possess. You can sense intentions, emotions, and presence in ways humans cannot, and that will guide us." As they moved forward, Daniel concentrated, feeling the subtle shifts in the surrounding energy, sensing presence after presence. The world felt alive in a way he had never experienced. He could feel tension, curiosity, suspicion, and even a trace of admiration from unseen observers. He realized that his ability to perceive these things gave him a power he had never imagined. Liara guided him through corridors of light and consciousness, showing him safe zones and hidden paths that humans could not perceive. Daniel marveled at her calm and skill, realizing how much he relied on her guidance, yet feeling confident that he could now contribute. He understood that this was a partnership, a shared responsibility that required trust and understanding. Finally, they reached a quiet place, a calm meadow of soft, luminous grass with gentle rivers of light flowing through it. Liara turned to him. Here we can plan. Here we can think. The observers are patient, but they are curious. They will not act recklessly, but we must anticipate their actions. Daniel nodded, feeling the strange mix of awe, fear, and excitement. I understand. We need to be careful, but we also need to learn, grow, and act together. This is bigger than just us. It's about understanding and balance. Liara's expression softened, and for a moment, the tension lifted. Yes, Daniel. You are beginning to understand. This is not a fight. It is a journey of awareness. Your choices will matter, not because they are heroic or brave, but because they are conscious, informed, and guided by understanding. That is the greatest strength any being can have. As they stood together in the glowing meadow, Daniel realized that his life had changed forever. He had crossed a threshold into a world beyond human imagination. Danger, curiosity, and discovery were all intertwined, and his bond with Liara was central to navigating it. He felt a mixture of fear, excitement, and determination, knowing that every step they took would shape the future, not only for himself but for the worlds that were now connected through their shared experience. The meadow's calm did not last long. Daniel and Liara knew that eventually the observers would act, but for now there was an opportunity to reflect and prepare. Liara guided Daniel to the River of Light, a gentle stream that seemed to carry emotions rather than water. As he dipped his hands into it, he felt warmth, understanding, and a sense of unity with all living things around him. You see, Daniel, Liara said softly, our world teaches us that connection is the truest power. It is not about strength or dominance, but about empathy, awareness, and understanding. When you feel deeply, perceive clearly, and act consciously, you shape reality in ways that are lasting and meaningful. Daniel listened carefully, feeling the words resonate within him. His journey had been extraordinary, but he now understood that the lessons were not just about seeing alien worlds. They were about understanding himself, his capacity for empathy, and the meaning of connection. He realized that his life on Earth, his memories, his experiences, all of it had led him to this moment of awareness. I feel it, he said quietly. I can sense everything, the emotions, the presence, the intentions, and I understand now why you returned, why this connection matters. It's not just about me. It's about learning, understanding, and choosing the right path. Liara smiled, a glow of pride in her eyes. Yes, Daniel, that is why I am here. And now, it is time for you to make a choice. You can return to your human life, carrying these memories and insights, and apply them to the world you know. Or you can stay here with me, fully immersed in a world of connection, understanding, and shared consciousness. Both paths are valid. Both are meaningful, but only one can be chosen at a time. Daniel felt his heart race. He thought of Earth, of his family, friends, and the life he had known, and yet he felt the pull of this world, the depth of connection with Liara, the sense that he was part of something extraordinary. He closed his eyes, feeling the river of light around him, and allowed himself to sense every emotion, every presence, every possibility. I don't know if I can leave this, he admitted. It's incredible. But I also have a life back home, a life that I care about. How can I choose? Liara took his hands in hers, grounding him. There is no wrong choice, Daniel. The choice is about awareness, not obligation. You must follow your heart and mind together. What you choose will shape your journey, your understanding, and your future experiences. And know this, no matter what you choose, the bond we share will remain, across worlds, memories, and time. Daniel opened his eyes and looked at her, feeling the truth in her words. He realized that the journey had been about more than exploration. It had been about growth, courage, and understanding the true power of connection. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also a sense of freedom. I choose to stay with you, he said finally, his voice steady, filled with resolve and wonder. I want to learn, explore, and understand everything this world can teach me. I want to see the connection we share in its fullness, not as a memory, but as a living experience. Liara's eyes glowed warmly and she smiled. Then we begin together, Daniel. You will experience what few ever could. You will see the depth of connection, the richness of consciousness, and the meaning of understanding beyond human limits. And together, we will explore a journey that is truly extraordinary. As Daniel felt himself fully immersed in Liara's world, he understood that he had crossed a threshold. The fears and doubts of the past faded, replaced by awareness, empathy, and a profound sense of purpose. He could sense the rhythm of life, the flow of consciousness, and the bond that tied him to Liara and the world around them. Time seemed different in this world. Moments stretched and contracted, filled with sensation, understanding, and insight. Daniel experienced emotions that went beyond human words, saw patterns of thought and connection, and understood the true meaning of shared consciousness. And through it all, Liara was there, guiding him, supporting him, and sharing the journey as a partner, teacher, and friend. By the end of what felt like both a lifetime and a single instant, Daniel realized that he had become part of something greater than himself. He had left the limitations of his human experience behind, not to abandon his past, but to integrate it into a new, richer understanding of life, connection, and consciousness. And as he and Liara stood together, surrounded by the luminous beauty of her world, Daniel knew that he had made a choice that would define him forever. He was no longer just a human scientist. He was a being of awareness, connection, and understanding, ready to explore a universe of possibilities beyond imagination. The journey was only beginning, and Daniel felt ready.